Welcome to the Desire to Trade podcast, the podcast helping you develop Forex trading skills for more freedom. I'm your host, Etienne Kite. Let's get started right away. Jerremy Newsome, welcome on the podcast. How's it going today?
My brother, doing fantastic. How are you?
Awesome, good, for sure. The first question I like to ask my guests most of the time is, what is one quote that inspires you?
One quote.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a great question. I love quotes. That's the funny thing you mentioned that. I post a quote at least 2 or 3 times a day on my Facebook, Twitter. I would have to say though, top of the head, favorite quote ever, Mark Twain. The 2 greatest days in your life is the day that you're born and the day that you find out why.
Nice. Awesome quote. Have you found out why yourself?
We're diving in quick.
For sure.
You know, it took me a little while. Yeah, it did. I think I really came across the realization about 5 years ago of really why I'm here, what I do, what my purpose here is on this earth, and that's to educate. I loved teaching ever since I was a young kid. I loved teachers. I loved learning. I always had a weird learning disability is not the right word, but I learned differently than other people, and a lot of teachers didn't realize that. And I love teaching, man. So teaching to me is why I'm here. And so I figure out and find really interesting avenues, if it's business, stock market, personal finance, coaching, motivation, whatever. I like teaching people by asking them the right questions like you're doing today. So I appreciate your podcast, and thanks for taking the time out of your day, because what you're doing, man, you're enriching lives. You're helping people. You're asking the right questions. You're showing people how to ask better questions, because the quality of your life, all about the quality of your questions, right?
Thank you. Awesome. I'm curious to know, because for the people listening to this right now, we are doing a video interview, and I'm curious to know, are these like computer screens for your trading behind you, or?
Yes, they are. I don't have these on right now. I got this guy on. I got a few of them over here.
Oh, it's like what, 6, 7, 8?
I got 8. Yeah, I got 8. I don't have the other 4 on until later in the afternoon when things start going a little crazy. But I have this computer obviously here, and then I got 4 over here, and I got 4 right there. But I will say, honestly, they're just for show. That's why I even have these 4 on. You have 2 eyes. You can trade off of two screens, man. That's all you need. This was just a present. I got not too long ago. Present, like I just want to reward myself for hard work. So that's it.
Cool.
It's like a Lamborghini. You don't need one of those.
For traders, trader style.
Exactly. It's just a way to get to point A to point B.
All right. So with that being said, what are you doing these days exactly, trading wise?
So I'm primarily a day trader. I've been trading for right at 10 years now, and I've been doing it professionally, like on my own, not having any other job for about 5. And I focus primarily on day trading, but I'm familiar with how to do long-term, like investing, shorter-term investing. I know, and I do a lot of option trading, so calls and puts, do some pretty crazy strategies with those, but mostly equities. I know you're a Forex guy. I don't trade a lot of currencies. I'm in the cryptocurrency space a little bit, getting more into that. I'm learning more about futures, learning a little bit more about commodities, but the question I do get actually about Forex usually as well is why do you trade just stocks and options? And I really kind of bring it down to, you have people who have a professional sport. So it might be the MLB or the MLS or the NFL or the NHL, hockey. So like if you're a professional sports player, you probably are doing one sport at once. If you start doing 4 or 5 different sports, you're going to get burned out. You're not going to get good at it. And that's kind of my theory, is I just kind of stick to one. So stocks and options is my primary focus.
That's an interesting topic, because some people say that it's kind of easier when you know one to like trade other things. And like I'm the same way as you. I only trade Forex and nothing else. But some people like to have like one setup on different currency pairs or different like instrument. So I guess it's a different perspective on that. But
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind. Like I said, I think at some point I'm going to do some Forex, but it's going to be longer term. So like I'm bullish on this currency pair. I'll put some in and just do smaller risk and kind of let it do its thing. I'll get to that point. I can read the charts, but actively trading, yeah, it's you definitely got to have that one focus. If you're doing longer term stuff, that's I think you can dabble in different markets for sure.
Has it always been that way that you were trading only stocks and cryptocurrencies, or how did you start exactly? So let's go back in time a little bit.
Oh, how do I start trading? That's always a great conversation. The trading thing. So I got my interest from a movie. Have you seen Forrest Gump?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
So great film. Very into the movie when he goes to the mailbox and pulls out the letter and he says, "Lieutenant Dan invested in a fruit company and we don't have to worry about money anymore." Remember that scene? So I asked my dad, I was like, what is investing and what is the fruit company? Like I mean I was 7 at the time, so I had no idea what was going on. I think this was like in 1994. And he told me about what the stock market is. He said this is Apple, here's what they do. And I convinced him over a few months to invest in some Apple shares back in 1994, 1995. And he bought those and a few years later sold them for like 3x. I think at the time Apple was going for I think $4 and he sold them for 12, something like that. So he gave me 3 grand as like a 9-year-old, and I was hooked. So ever since then, I've just been trying to learn about the market. I got a degree at the University of Florida. That's where I graduated, go Gators, back in '09. And I got a degree in business management because I started out in finance, thinking that in college, if you got a degree in finance, they would teach you what the stock market is. Why are you smiling?
Big mistake. No, because I know. I've been there too, so totally know.
Yeah, I was like, this is for sure what they do. They teach you how to invest, but no, not at all. So I switched degrees, just got a business degree, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go find someone to teach me how to trade the markets. And I just started going down the YouTube internet path, and never looked back. So I've always, as a young kid, I just loved the fact that you can invest in an idea and grow, because that's really what the company is. A company is an idea. So Apple has an iPad, that's an idea, and then they make it into something, and then once it's something, people can invest in that idea with money. That's incredible.
hmm Isn't that kind of a different perspective? Because you started by investing, right? And then you moved to day trading. So how did that happen?
That particular switch, let's see, how long ago did that happen? I think it started slowly morphing into about 2011, 2012, so about 6, 7 years ago. Uh, I like the longer term investing, and then I realized one of the stocks I was following a lot moved 1% in a day. And I was like, 1% in a day, and I kind of liked the compounding effect. Like if I made 1% a day every day, I'd have $156 million in like 3 years, which I don't yet. But the math still works out that way. And I was like, that is incredible. So more or less, I just learned. Um, I day traded without knowing anything. That's usually how people do it, right? When they start trading, they go, "Oh, this is really fun." Yes, and they just get in, they buy something, they have no idea why they're buying it, they have no idea when they're getting in. That's exactly how I started. I just got in, and I'd get out the same day, hoping for a profit. And that was it, man. That's exactly how I started. It was just I was day trading without realizing I was day trading.
That is how I think most people start. But I'm curious to know, because you mentioned you went to the YouTube route, which is like watching videos online, trying to learn from other people. How did that turn out, and how was the process? Because I know a lot of people do that, and they might succeed, might not succeed. But how did you find it?
Man, so I watched some of your videos on your website. You're talking about people finding that one course and that one mentor and thinking that if I can find just this one perfect solution to a problem, right, then I have everything that I need. And what I ended up finding is a lot of different mentors, a lot of different companies, a lot of different teachers and coaches. And I had one particular company and person that I loved. I linked up with them a lot. The company is called Trade Smart University, and I really dug their mission at the time and kind of what they were doing. And so I ended up working for them. So I moved from Florida up here to Nashville, Tennessee. That's kind of how I got up to Nashville. And they were stock market educators. That's what they did. So they sold stock market education, and I was like, that was their business. And what I liked about it, most importantly, was just the way that they marketed, they presented. It's like any other company. I mean, I know everyone listening has probably seen Tim Sykes commercials at some point or another. And what I liked was just simply the fact that they taught really well, and I like people who teach well, and because there's a lot of smart people out there, a lot of smart people, but they have a real hard time getting across what's in here to stupid people like me. And they seem to do that, yeah. And so more or less, I just went down that route. I moved from Florida to Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I'm at now. And I learned a lot from them. And then they kind of introduced me to just the way and the ability to reach out to other mentors. So I started getting other mentors all the way from Israel to Hawaii to Bangladesh to Thailand to Australia, like Mandy. I just started reaching out to people on the internet saying, hey, and like you did, started asking questions. I wasn't afraid to be dumb. It's the best way to get mentors, man, is just ask questions and invest in yourself, because I spent a lot of money on mentors, and I would get contacts, thousands and thousands of dollars on the phone. I would just say, hey, how much does this cost? And I would just spend it hoping that that investment would somehow benefit me without knowing it, and it usually did,
Yeah,
oftentimes.
yeah. And I think even though there's never like one solution and one thing that really like transform your life, I think all these like courses or training you buy, they all like add a small part. I think that's where the value lies. Even though it's not a big thing, like it's always going to be a small thing that you get, and you progress with those things over time.
You're so right, man. You're 100% correct, because that's the key. Is there's not one. I mean, I truly don't think there's one program that I'm like, hey guys, this is the best program in the world, and this is all you need. I mean, I teach stock market education. I teach people how to properly and safely invest in the stock market. But even me, I would say, guys, there's a lot of other people out there who do a really great job of giving you information on different topics. I don't know that much about historical implied volatility of options. I know a little bit about it, but I'm not a specialist by any means. I'm not the best on a gamma curve. I can do okay, but I'm not the greatest. So I would always suggest, yeah, learn from different people, and take away that those small aspects of if you have a question, get your answers from where you can find them. And like you mentioned in your video, man, the video on your homepage, do work, because if you want success, you got to put in the work. You're gonna have to put in time. If you get something that you didn't work for, it will be taken from you.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, of
Simple
course.
as that.
How did that part look like for you to put in hard work? Did you spend like the whole day studying or looking at charts?
Oh, that's a good question. So this was brutal for me. This goes back to, is it 2017? Man, time flies. So this goes back, yeah, about 7 years. And what happened was I lost a lot of money, and because I didn't know what I was doing. I was trading options. I actually was trading my dad's retirement account, and I was trading a strategy that I know very well, buying stock and doing covered calls. I learned that strategy immediately. I always understood it. To this day, it's my favorite strategy because it's simple, it's easy. I can explain it to anybody. And then I was making good money. I made like 36% return in 3 months, made about 36 grand off of 100,000. I was like, okay, not too bad. 5 months later, I lost it all. Every dime, 100 grand, gone down the tubes. And trading options, and I had no idea how to use them or implement them or manage risk. I was only focusing on the profits. So I lost my dad's entire retirement account. And yeah, when I was 20, that's so 9 years ago. And what I ended up doing was simply saying, well, this is terrible. Let me figure out how I can change this. Like, what can I do to avoid this from ever happening again? And how can I learn from this mistake? And that's more or less what he told me, because he said, hey, I didn't have to pay for you to go to college, so I'll just assume this is your college tuition. I hope you get it back one day. Um, so the studying that I did is I did something called back trading. And that's just a term that I use. It can be called a lot. Simulated replay, historical replay, virtual trading, whatever you want to call it. I went back in time and I got a trading software called TradingView, or I'm sorry, Trade Navigator. Yeah, Trade Navigator. This is so they sell. It's Genesis Technologies, and it's a PC based charting software that you can get data from the stock's inception. So I went back and back traded the Dow Jones from the day it started. Like from day one, candle by candle, I traded the entire Dow Jones. And I got to trade the stock market crash in the 20s. I got to trade World War One. I traded World War Two. Looking at the candles and seeing how they moved, it was just incredible. So I spent 7 months, and it just kind of happened. It morphed into this obsession to get better. I love the book by Grant Cardone, Be Obsessed or Be Average. And that's kind of what I did at this time without knowing it, is I quit going out to clubs. I didn't do any clubs. I didn't have any friends. I didn't watch sports. I canceled all of my TV. All I did was I worked, I drank water, and I ate food. I came home and I back traded for 7 hours a day, every day. Your birthday, my birthday, Jesus' birthday, every single day, Monday through Monday, 7 hours a day for 7 months, and I got really good. And that was pretty much what it is. I put in a lot of work.
It's awesome. I think that's what it's all about, and that's how you get results over time, for sure.
And it
Very
sucks, man.
powerful.
No, the thing is,
Yeah, of
to
course.
this day, I wouldn't want to do that again.
Yeah, you don't wake up excited to go back on the chart, and no, for sure.
No, you don't. You don't. Like if you work out 4 days in a row really hard, that fifth day is going to be terrible. And you always hit that block. And I hit a few blocks, man, because when I was in Florida, you get hurricane season, and then I had to work 15 hours a day. I was like, man, 15 hours a day. Geez, okay. If I'm gonna do 7 hours a day, it looks like I'm not gonna sleep. So I took a cot and I brought it to work so I could just sleep at the job in my 15-minute breaks. And so I figured out a way, like I made it happen. The best way to do anything, man, is to make it a number one priority. Like, no question, I'm going to do this. Doesn't matter what it is.
Hmm. And the other key thing you mentioned also is the fact that, like, when you lost money, you said, "What can I do to like get better, to improve?" And I think like because you could stay there pretty easily and say, "Oh, like I lost money, I don't have that money anymore." But if you change and if you do like if you say to yourself, "What can I do to fix this?" Then of course like you get more result, which is really awesome. Key
Yeah,
part of it.
I wish I could tell you that it was more philosophical than it was, but it was really just me not failing well. That was my first time I ever was bad at something, and I've never felt that kind of pain before, um, and I did not like it. And so I was like, how do I avoid, yeah, I was like, how do I avoid ever feeling like this again? And I did, my mind was just like, okay, you're here. There's nothing you can do. What do you do now? And looking back, that was kind of just like my primordial fight or flight mentality of like, I'm just going to fight this. And looking back at it, yeah, it was just me trying to learn from failure, which is now, dude, I fail every day, once a day at least.
Hmm. What made you want to stick to trading? Because a lot of people who lose that money, they're gonna like quit trading probably.
Yeah.
So why did you stick?
Oh man, why did I stick to trading? I would more or less say just it got ingrained as a young kid. When I was younger, and that the whole trading, Forrest Gump, loving the stock market at an early age, and it just so something called your primary question. Have you heard of that? Where you get this link when you're a younger kid of this is what I am going to do for the rest of my life, and it's like a subconscious thing. So I'll answer that question, but I'm going to ask you a question. What is your first memory ever of all time? And be thinking about that when I'm answering this, because what happens is when you have a first memory, like that, when you become into, when you awaken, if you will, from your infancy, we don't remember anything, and then it just becomes light. Like, what is that first memory? That's your brain going, this is how you're made, this is what you're going to do, and this is your deepest inner desire for the rest of your life. And that was one of those moments for me, was just, I got ingrained in that I have to be investing in the stock market. I have to trade. And it was kind of like having a mom or dad who passes away, which I've experienced, and it's a very painful thing. But knowing that they're gone, losing that money, it's like, okay, even though this is departing from me, I still want that memory. I still want to know that they're there. So there's no way I'm giving up. I'm not going to just let this go. And it was just a cerebral decision to keep going forward.
That's cool. That's cool. Interesting. I think I want to try something a little bit different in the podcast. I want to maybe get technical a little bit. And could you share with us a trade that you took recently? Like what you were looking for, what you did, and kind of what happened with that trade? Just to like know the process of what's behind your trades.
How recent do you want me to go? 'Cause I took one an hour ago, so you tell me.
Doesn't really matter. Up to you.
Okay. Um, I mean, let's do one. Let's do it on Apple because this was a trade. I mean, literally, this was like 18 minutes ago that I just got out of this trade. Right before you called, I was setting up the stop and getting this situated. So Apple's a stock that is my favorite stock, right? I trade all the time. It's my number one go-to, and I'm watching it all the time. Every single day, I'm gonna watch Apple. I'm gonna look at what it does. I love it long term. I love trading it short term, and trading to me needs to be very simple. My strategies are always the simplest they can be because number one, if you don't have a simple strategy, it's very hard to replicate. You know, if you're not a robot, it's tough to always do the exact same thing. It's really complicated. If you have a 400,000 different indicators to go through and volume bar, and you're just going through and your brain can't process it fast enough, and then you start asking questions, oh, was this the right indicator? Did it move right? Did it move wrong? So on and so forth. So I try to keep a really, really, really simple strategy. I use something called a 100 moving average and a 200 moving average. Now I use a few of the moving averages, but these are long-term moving averages, 100 and 200. So 100 is a blue line on my chart and the 200 is a red line. On big companies, any big company, doesn't matter, Facebook, Alibaba, Apple, Yahoo, you know, Amazon, Google, hedge funds, mutual funds, professional investors, they like moving averages because it gives them a definitive and exact specific location of where to do something. So today, Apple was trading down to the 100. So it's been bearish more or less for the last 2 weeks since they came out with the Apple iPhone or the iPhone X. Apple has always been a buy the rumor, sell the news company for the last however long I've traded it. So when the rumor's coming out, you buy, and then when they release everything, you sell. So Apple trading down to the blue line. I mean, this is kindergarten stuff. It's every day it's getting closer and closer to the blue line. So weeks ago, my plan was when it hits this blue line, I'm going to buy it. That was my strategy, man. When it comes to this blue line, I'm going to buy it. Now, the question that a lot of people always ask me when they're trading is how do you know if something's going to bounce and where do you know it's going to bounce? The answer is you don't know any of those answers. You don't know if it's going to bounce and you don't know where it's going to bounce. All you can do is create a plan of what you are going to do and then you do it. And you're either right or wrong. And if you're wrong, you lose less money than when you're right and you'll be profitable. That's just math. If you lose $50 every time you make $100, you will be profitable. So don't ask the question, how much money am I going to make if this result goes my way? You ask the question, how much am I going to lose if this does not go my way? Plan your strategy around that. Keep that a constant, right? Don't make it a variable. Because if you make it a variable, if you take 10 trades in a row and risk $100 and win on every single one of them, you're up 1,000. And then on the 11th trade, if you risk $5,000 and lose, you've lost all of that money and then some, and you're like an 89% win-loss ratio. So it's all about risk, keeping that consistent. So when Apple came down to the blue line, which is today, September 20th, it hit the 100 simple moving average perfectly. Let me just pull up my chart really quick. You're not going to be able to see it unless you want to. The 100 simple moving average right now today was 153.14. 153.14. And so I was at the 5-minute chart because I was, kind of looking at day trading it. And at 153.05, you got a nice little high wave bullish candle. It said, hey, I don't know what's up. The candle was like, I'm an indecision candle. I don't know if I'm going to go higher or if I'm going to go lower. And I said, well, my plan was to go higher here. I bought above the candle. I put my stop below the candle. And I risked, my $450. And if the trade works, I'll make more than $450. And if I lose, I'm going to lose $450. And it worked. And And that was it. That's the whole thing. The strategy, any strategy works, just not all the time. One of the biggest takeaways I've had from trading in the last my whole career, honestly, is you could give me a strategy right now, and I could use it and make money. Anyone can give you a strategy to make money, but it's not going to work all the time. So when the time that it doesn't work, lose small.
Of course. And I think for you in that type of strategy, because this is with the trend, do you consider you have like multiple strategies or only one basic strategy for everything?
That's also a good question. I do have multiple strategies, but because I use options. So using options provides you a lot of leverage. Meaning if you're long a stock, you can short the stock with puts. You buy puts, so you can make money as it's going down, but you still own the shares. There are different strategies, and I would always encourage traders initially. What you have to start doing is you have to go, okay, what is one strategy that I understand? No question. And most traders understand the buy low, sell high concept. Buy at 10, sell at 20, stop at 7, right? Most traders get that. So what I often suggest is start with the easiest, most simple strategy that you can imagine, which would be honestly buy low, buy at a low price, whatever that low price is. It could be a moving average. If you want to use an indicator, you can use an indicator. It could be at a support price. Um, Shake Shack is a really good example of this. So Shake Shack, again, I know you can't see my chart, but I'm just pulling up for references. Shake Shack pulled down to $31, 31, let's say 31.50 back in January of 2016, so a year ago. Okay, and then it went up to 41, so that is $10 move. That's 30% gain in 6 months. Well, back in November 2016, it was there again, $31. What do? You use it as a support. And if you had to use it as support, it bounced and went up to 39. That's an $8 gain. You made 20%. Now, March 2017, a few months ago, my friend, guess where it's at? $31 again. What do? You do the exact same thing. You buy it, and then it went up to 38 again. No joke. This happened 3 different times. Now, guess what? 3 weeks ago, Shake Shack's at 31.50. What do? You do the same thing again. And now it's at 32.50. So it's already up a dollar. Is it going to go to 38? I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But you got to try. If it worked 3 times, what's going to say it's not going to work the fourth time? You just simply lose less money than you make. And that is an exact example that I think a lot of traders can get their head around of is find a company that you know. So Shake Shack, they make good burgers and good milkshakes. I like both of those things. Right? Do you have any Shake Shacks in Montreal?
No, we don't. I don't think so.
Okay. Um, the only one I've been to is in New York City, and which is about 6 hours south of you guys. And I liked it, and so I can't go there often, but I know their product. So I would say for an easy strategy, know what company you're trading. Like, don't make sure it's not some random biotech pharmaceutical company that makes pills that cures like toe cancer. Like, you want to know what this company does. You want to know their product. You want to be able to like touch, hold, and feel it and see if it's good. And then look for a low price to buy it at, and then risk small. Let's do that. And if you can do that, then you can start building and learning different strategies as you make money.
And see, I think we're talking companies now, but I think the same things apply to trading. Like if you trade currency pairs you don't know, like weird exotic pairs, it's gonna be hard to kind of know how it's gonna react and everything. But if you trade a couple of pairs like I do and you follow them and you understand like how they move, what happens with them, it's much easier to like stay focused and know like what to expect, I think.
You were so right because I don't love trading the US dollar, Canadian dollar, but I love watching it because when the US dollar is high against the Canadian dollar, where do I go? Go up to Canada, right? I'm coming up there to hang out with you in May, so I'm hoping that the currency pairs are going to be okay. But right now, the Canadian dollar is pretty strong against the US dollar relatively. It's stronger than it was. So that means you need to come down here and party down here in Tennessee, right? So I like the currency pairs of where I'm traveling to because I travel a lot. I was in Germany not too long ago, so the euro, right? So I'm figuring out what is the euro compared to the dollar doing. I'm watching it. Unfortunately, I went in a really bad time, and the exchange rate was pretty miserable. But either way, you're 100% correct, man. It's knowing the instrument.
What do you see are some of the other mistakes your student makes sometimes, like the most common ones?
Oh man, let's not. I'll just talk about me. I've made every mistake possible, and a few times. The I would say here's the biggest one. Here's the biggest mistake, and it's the most unobvious, is that if that's a word. The most common mistake that any trader will make is not having a written down concrete trading plan that has rules and stuff. When I say rules and stuff, like don't do this, don't do this at this time of the day, do this at this time of the day, don't do this, don't do that. It's like having because the funny thing is, you've had a job before, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course,
And
multiple.
and at your job, they could fire you for doing X, Y, Z. You knew what rules those were, and you didn't break those because if you need, I mean, every country has its rules. Like you know not to rob a bank. Why? Because you'll go to jail. So we don't do that. In trading, most traders don't have a set of rules of things that they do not do, and a set of rules that they just don't follow. And if they have mental rules, they don't write them down. My dad, I forget the exact quote, but my dad said often, if you don't write it down, it's not real. So if you don't have it written down right there in front of your face, reminding you every single day, that's the biggest mistake that most people have is they'll trade in here in their mind and they'll say, oh, well, I don't trade on Mondays or whatever. And then they get bored one Monday and they trade and they lose and they get all upset. Or, I don't hold trades over earnings or whatever. They'll come up with a bunch of different plans, different rules. They'll not write them down. And if they do write them down, they don't follow them. And if they don't follow them, there's no repercussions. There needs to be repercussion. Like if I go to when I worked, so I've been self-employed for a while now, but if I worked when I worked at my old company, if I went in and just shot my boss with a water gun in the face or threw a pie, got a giant vanilla pie and threw it at people, I would probably get fired, and I know that. So I didn't do it. But in trading, a lot of people know what they shouldn't do. They do it anyway, and then there's no repercussions.
Yeah, yeah. But I think the thing with trading is that you do not know from day one. It's like not a clear thing that's written. Like if you do this, you'll lose money over time. So you kind of have to go back on your performance, see how you perform and what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, back trade measuring yourself is always important. Is that your
Yeah.
trading plan behind you, written down up there,
Yeah,
or
there's part of it there. Yeah, yeah. And I do
okay?
have this notebook right here on different
All
ideas
right.
of trading. So always
Yeah,
there for sure.
I love it. I
Of
love
course.
it. Awesome, man. Yeah, but you're right. Measuring is a big deal because then you go back and you figure out, did you follow your plan? So I get asked about once a month. Someone will reach out and say that they want coaching, and that's my if I'm doing a coaching, if I have a job, that's what my job is to make sure or to help people follow their plan. Because some people either don't have one, so we build one together, and then once they get it built, I just help them follow it. Just like if you're a fitness coach, you can't work out for that person, but you can give them what meals they should eat, what workout regimen they should do, and then you can make sure they follow it. And like you mentioned, man, again, I keep coming back to your awesome video on your homepage. You got to put in work. And all of that is work. Following the plan, having a plan, following rules, all that is work.
Of course. I'm curious to know what do you do with those people who have their plan but do not follow it?
That's a great question. So, so you mentioned Mandy earlier. I love Mandy. She's over in Australia. She's an amazing trader. She deals with trading psychology a lot. And that's one of my specialties. I was going to say, if I have a specialty, it is understanding trader psychology. I've read a lot about psychology in general, and I know a fair amount just about how humans operate. And I know that people will either avoid pain or seek pleasure. Now, those are the two ways that people move forward. So, right, you either put the carrot in front of them or you beat them with a stick, so to speak. And if they break a plan, if they break their rules, before we're finished with our coaching session, I say, hey, here's your pain if you break your rule. Here's your punishment. It sounds kind of like sadomasochist in a way, but it's like you've got to implement pain if you do the wrong thing. It's an avoidance technique, and I don't mean pain like there's one. Well, it's not a bad thing. There's this one trader called the Discipline Trader. He's actually I've never met him in person. He's a great dude. One of his suggestions is to take a rubber band and snap it on your wrist every time you do a mistake. That works, but not really. You got to go harder. You got to go a little bit more visceral. You got to go much more deep into something meaningful and impactful. And usually, what works for me, for when I'm working with a coaching student, and I'll tell you what my pain is too, is going vegetarian.
Okay.
Are you vegetarian?
No, no, but I didn't expect that would work with trading, but okay.
Why not? So I'll put it to you this way: if I say you can only lose $100 in a day, and then you lose $200 in a day, you broke your plan right there. So you would have to be a vegetarian for 2 weeks. Simple as that. It's an avoidance technique. And the funny part is, I had an amazing trader. He's actually here in Nashville. His name is Matt. And he was horrible a year and a half ago. And he kept breaking his plan. And he told me, he's like, I don't know, I can't find a pain good enough. And I was like, well, how about you go vegan for 3 months? Not even vegetarian, vegan, full on vegan. He did it. He did it. And ever since then, every single month he's been profitable because he is terrified of breaking his plan. He would rather lose money and follow his plan than be vegan. So my plan, because I broke my plan so many times over the years, it's just the pain gets worse and worse and worse and worse. A few months ago, I waxed my chest. That was pretty brutal. Filmed the whole thing. It's on YouTube for those who want to watch it. What I have it now is I don't like beets, I don't like Brussels sprouts, and I don't like mustard. So I'd have to, in my plan, I'd have to eat beets and Brussels sprouts covered in mustard every single meal for an entire week. I'd have to go without meat for 3 months. I'd have to go without sports of any kind for 3 months, and I'd have to go without alcohol for 3 months.
Wow. Yeah, tough
I would
consequence, but they
rather
probably work.
I would rather pay 10 grand than to not do those things. And that's what's keeping me out of trouble right now. Because I'll look at a trade and go, man, I do not want to get out of this trade. That's what my brain says, right? My brain will go, this trade's going to work. Don't get out right now. Don't get out right now. And I look at my plan. I'm going to go, dude, if I don't get out right now, I'm going to lose $450. Don't care. Sorry. And so this pain is worse than this pain. That is trading psychology 101, man. Like that's psychology 101. Which pain would you rather do? And you always go after the lesser one. And if you can make that a positive, that can be game changing.
Yeah, and the powerful thing is that over time it becomes like a habit, so you don't have to think about it that much.
Bingo. Yeah, over time it'll become a habit. So for me now, I mean, every single time I take a trade, every trade I ever take, my brain goes, "Hey, dude, you're about to lose money. What are you doing? You're about to be wrong. Why are you gonna pull that trigger?" And then I have to say, it doesn't matter. I planned that I was gonna do this, so I have to do this. There's no question.
Powerful. This is really powerful. Any other takeaway you'd like to give people? Anything that they have to learn or think about?
Yeah, the biggest. One of my other quotes I've been thinking about is, in order to master the market. Some people say you can't master the market. I think that's bull crap. I think you can master the market. I don't think you can fully understand the market, but I think you can master it. And my quote is, in order to master the market, you must first master yourself. So if you want to be a profitable trader and you're listening to this podcast right now, I would go ahead and suggest that you find out what are your two biggest weakest attributes. What are your two biggest weak points? Mine, impatience and impulsiveness, which are kind of the same thing in a way, but I'm very spontaneous, I'm very impulsive, and I'm not patient at all. And so I had to build rules around my weakest attributes. So figure out, everyone has demons, everyone has flaws, figure out what yours are. So one trader, maybe you're really smart, maybe you're an engineer, doctor, lawyer, scientist, whatever, and you're going to try to math the stock market. You're going to try to beat the stock market with your special indicator or whatever. And you might overthink it. It might take you too long to get into the trade. So for me, I can take a trade in 7 seconds. Like I don't care. But that's a problem. Having that balance between being really, really aggressive and being really, really patient, that beautiful fine line, you can be a great trader. And so so one of my rules in my trading plan is for any swing trade I take, which is over a few days, I have to plan that trade 18 hours in advance before I can take it. If it's a day trade, I have to plan it 10 minutes before it happens. So that's one of my rules is I cannot get in. I have to wait for that 5 minute candle to close. If I'm day trading, there's no way I can't take it before then. I've got to have it close and then I can set my trade up. So I have some rules in place to do that. And that would be one of my biggest points, takeaways is if you really want to master the market, figure out what your flaws are and then build rules around those that encourage you to trade better.
Hey, yeah, smart. I think that's very useful. Yeah.
Yeah, totally, man. What are your biggest weaknesses, you think?
I think for me, I'm the opposite to you. So I would much rather plan a long time before placing the trades. So for me, it's sometimes just understanding like what are the rules that I have to follow, and then jumping in if it fits the rule. Otherwise, like because I'll often like check and look at different things, and sometimes like add new elements to the trading that are not in my plan, and that makes it tough. So yeah.
Yeah, so you'll try to paralysis by analysis is what you might
Kind of,
say.
yeah, kind of, yeah, yeah. It doesn't get that extreme because I've learned like over time to master that and kind of jump faster. But still, then I have to remind myself to like look at the plan. Like if there's something that I think is gonna impact, it doesn't matter. Like if it's not in the plan, it doesn't matter.
Bingo, man. There you go. And that's the takeaway right there. It's like we can see the two extremes of the spectrum because I'm on the far left and you're probably on the far right, and that's that middle ground. It's that battle because I don't want to plan anything, but you want to plan everything. So it's like in order to be the great trader, you got to be that middle ground. And for most people, that doesn't come naturally.
Yeah, of course, of course. Or for some people, it's gonna be the reaction after that, or how they react to bad trades or whatever, and that can be tricky also. Yeah.
That one's always fun. That's also a psychological thing because at some point, I don't. We can always have another just chat about it. I don't want to go in too deep, but the money, man, the money thing. People, the way you are tied to money and your connections with money and your psychological standpoint of money is really key. Like that is a massive, massive importance because if you are terrified of losing money, you're not going to be a great trader. We have to figure out why are you afraid of losing money? What does money mean to you? What did it when you were growing up with money or without money, or how'd you feel, or how'd your parents tell you about money? Do you believe that money is evil? Do you believe that money does bad things? Do you believe that rich people are corrupt? What are your views around money? Whew, that's a deep combo, man. And I've had to have that conversation with a few people because there it has nothing to do with their trading. Their trading is actually really good. Some people, they don't feel that they're worth receiving a lot of money subconsciously. They don't think that out loud, but they think, oh, I don't need a million. Yeah, just basically they don't feel like they deserve the money. And when they get in that state, you're never going to trade profitably because when money comes your way, you push it away. You're like, nah, I don't want to be rich. Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. Yeah, you do. Being rich is great. The more money you have, the more tools you have to help people. I don't think the stock market is ruled by fear and greed. I think the stock market is ruled by fear and optimism. I don't think people are greedy. I don't know you personally. This is the first time that we've met, but I would be very assured to say that you're not a greedy person. Greed is a state of the soul, meaning you can't get enough money to quench yourself. You can't. You would kick a baby to get more money. That's what greed is. You want to become rich so that you can help your family, that you can donate, that you can give, you can be charitable with your heart. Money is a tool, man. That's all it is. The more tools you have, the more houses you can build. So it's like the whole man money psychology thing is a whole another spectrum of trading that very few people get into. And me and Mandy have talked about it. She's great at it, but it is absolutely a key in trading successfully. Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, it is. It was powerful for me realizing it because this was a realization I had a few years ago. Um, I didn't think that I thought the love of money or that money or what it was or what it represented at a certain point. I thought I didn't need it. I thought you needed to work really hard for money. You have to put in tons of time, and like I said, that's a whole hour, 2 hour conversation. But yeah, you gotta feel like you deserve it. You have to truly believe that it's okay to just have a lot of money. It's okay to have tons and tons. Like you want to burn it. You have so much money. It's okay. You got to feel that and be okay with it. And when you feel okay with it, you'll start getting more.
Yeah, nice, awesome, awesome. Let's wrap up because it's already 45 minutes in. So
Yeah.
how can people find you if they want to connect with you or reach out?
Well, again, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time. Before we go, I want to hear the answer to your question though. First memory ever.
Oh, didn't think about that. I don't know.
Well, get back to me. Email me when you think
Sure.
about it. Your first memory of all time, or we can talk about it when I'm up there in May because I want to meet. I got a great friend. His name is Roberto. He lives in Montreal. I told him to reach out to you as well. But yeah, my website is called RealLifeTrading.com. People can email me directly if they would like to with any questions. My first name is spelled Jerremy with two R's, Jerremy at RealLifeTrading.com. And it's been an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much for taking your valuable time to chat with me about trading and psychology and how to help people. That just jazzes me up more than anything. So thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Awesome. Real life trading. And what kind of goal do you have for the future, Jeremy?
Goals I have for the future. Biggest one for me, I want a really, really nice boat with a bunch of my friends and family on it. We're going to tour the world, going to go coast to coast, port to port, all around the globe every single day while we trade. And then I'm going to go to these places in these ports or these coastal harbors, and I'm going to go into a restaurant or a bar or a hotel, and I'm going to meet someone at that place. And I'm going to be talking to them just like me and you are talking right now. And then I'm going to ask that person, what's one thing in your life that you've never done that you've always wanted to do? And they're going to say XYZ, whatever that might be. Let's go skydiving. I've never been skydiving. And then I'm going to go, let's go tomorrow. I'm going to pay for the whole thing. I'm going to film it. I'm going to make it an experience. I'm going to do that every single day for the rest of my life. That's my goal.
Awesome, awesome. Super specific. I love it. What's your main motivation for all this?
My motivation, man, is I grew up in a very, very poor household. People who did not understand the power of money and the blessings that it brings to other people. I want to leave a legacy, and I love legacies. I love making an impact on the world, and something within me wants to just give and make this world a better place and impact people on such a real level that their life is truly altered and changed. And if that's through trading, that's fine. If that's through an experience, that's fine. But that's why I created the company Real Life Trading, because I want to make it real to them. I want to change their life. And if it's through trading, that's fantastic.
And Jeremy, I have one last question that I ask every single one of my guests. If you could give me one piece of advice for traders in one sentence, what would that one sentence of advice be?
I want to think about it because I got one sentence. One piece of advice, one sentence. Know yourself, know your weaknesses, be okay with it, comma, build a plan and follow it.
Powerful, powerful. Jeremy Newsome, thanks so much for being on the podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you here today.
My pleasure, man. Likewise, have an amazing day in the market, crush Forex, and enjoy Montreal's beautiful weather.